Chicago, M365, and good day to everyone elsewhere, afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to present today's session, Microsoft 365 and Scrum Master. My name is John Naguib, and this is my Twitter in here if you'd like to follow me, and please use the hashtag for this event all the day, so because there'll be some prizes and for over social media, and here is our official site. I appreciate it. Well, I'm a solution architect and a Microsoft MVP, and I have been in this business for 17 years. Coming from development background, I have been into several roles: consultancy, development, Scrum Master, architecture. So today session, before jumping into the main topics, let me give you some stuff to be aware about. So M365 Chicago is actually sponsoring this donation. So if you would like to join this supporting Chicago public schools through the Children First Fund, feel free to use this link to do the donation or scan this code. Okay, next session, I would like to have massive thanks to our sponsors, the gold partners, the silver partners, and the community partners. It's appreciated to bring this live. I'd like to thank the organizers. I'd like to thank Joseph for moderating. I appreciate it. Okay, other piece. So there'll be raffles and giveaways. So please, as mentioned, make sure that you use Twitter and use this hashtag. And there are some partner stuff too. So feel free to go to this link too. I'll give you a few seconds if you'd like to take a screenshot or to visit this URL while I'm speaking. Okay, moving to the next slide, some refreshment about the team. So Microsoft Teams, if you'd like, if in case you cannot hear, you can check your device settings from this device settings. If you're having any privacy issues, you can click apply background effects. If you're having issues in hearing, you can turn on live capture, so you can check the written words. You can raise your hands from here, and you can ask stuff on the chat. Yeah, and keep your video turned off. Okay, that's it. Let me start by my first slide. So what Agile is, in case you're not aware about it, or you just hear the term and you're not familiar, and it has been along for quite some time in the market. Since 2001, actually, this term was coined, and they created something called Agile Manifesto. Well, it's an approach. So if you are coming from a software development background or working for a software development firm, you know that software development has a lot of techniques. It used to be waterfall, and it still exists, but they are now Agile. So it's another way. When they coined Agile in 2001, they put a manifesto and they put specific values for it. The most 4 important values for Agile is number 1, individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Well, usually in traditional software development business, there's sometimes processes and tools can take a lot of time and a lot of thinking from people, which can distract them from the target. So in Agile, it doesn't mean that we neglect that, but it's what we care about is in the individuals and the interactions between them. So this is one of the core values mentioned in the Agile Manifesto. The second thing is working software over comprehensive documentation. Sometimes people get whelmed into the documentation and forget about software, and they try to document everything, which takes a lot of time. This doesn't mean too that we neglect documentation, but to make a moderate balance. We care initial step about a working software version. Number 3 is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Sometimes we are very strict with customers and about negotiating and contract stuff, while what we care at the beginning is how we collaborate to be effective and to reach to that goal. Last but not least, it's responding to a change over following a plan. This doesn't mean too we don't have a plan, but we sometimes in Agile methodology, which differentiated from other methodologies in software development, you have to be very quick with responding to change. Just don't want to wait till you lose stuff or something happen more bad. You have to be agile. You have to be very quick. That's it. What is Agile is. So what Agile is not. Agile is not an excuse of lack of roadmap. Actually, the opposite. Agile, as I'm going to speak in the next slides, it makes you follow a plan where you can put all your expected work to do and start planning for them every, they call it sprint, every sprint, what you are going to do, what you are going to implement. So it's not a lack for missing roadmap without a plan. No, still, it's a agile. If you follow the agile and its frameworks, you are going to have a good plan, solid plan of what you are going to implement and when and how long it takes you, so you can forecast the coming period or the coming year or till you finish up your product. The development of specifications, no, too. So in agile, we have catalogs where you can put all your features, you can specify them exactly, so you know how you can meet your criteria. So this will be a working software, not just a development that's not meeting the target. So we defined agile, what is agile, and we define the 4 core values and what agile is not. One of the frameworks from agile, there are a lot, is called Scrum. Scrum is a framework used by teams to manage their work, and Scrum implements the principal agile concept that we discussed in the previous slide as a concrete set of artifacts, practices, and rules. So sometimes you can deviate a little bit from this concept Scrum, because in the real world, Scrum must contain architects. So sometimes Scrum says no, every team member is equal. That's fine, but everyone needs to have a specific skill to satisfy the need for the project. So what is Scrum actually is? So Scrum is a life cycle. So it gives you around 2 or 4 weeks, something called sprint, where you can implement specific features. So for example, if we are working on a software to do events planning, and we started to divide features, and we say that we are having feature 1, feature 2, and feature 3, and we are having around 40 features. So we're going to say in the first sprint, we're going to implement 3 features. That's fine. So what happens? We start by creating a product backlog and start putting all these features and document it. And then we start at the beginning of every sprint. We do a planning sessions where we can move some product items from here and put it on the backlog for this sprint. And then the team start executions. And daily, we have a meeting called Daily Scrum. And in the Daily Scrum or daily meeting, it's usually 30 minutes max, where people start saying what they have been working on yesterday, what they have accomplished, what they are going to work on today, and if they are having any issues they would like to raise. And at the end, there is a sprint review of how the team has behaved or done and achieved, and then they ship it to the customer. And then it's repeated again and again till we reach to the finishing the product and delivering it. So this is mainly a Scrum. Okay, so far we have talked about Agile, Scrum, what are the core values for Agile, and what's Scrum framework. And shortly, I'm going to reach you to the point how is this related to actually 365. I'm not that Agile master or something, but I'm mainly Microsoft MVP and Microsoft 365. This is what I'm going to care about and take you through some demos. So I move to the next slide. Just I mentioned in here in the product catalog, we put some features. We call them user stories, and user stories is one of the sub features. So how we write a good user story? So I'm going to say, for example, as a person, I want to do something so that something can happen. So let me give you an example that will be better. As an example, as a bank customer, I want to withdraw money from an ATM so that I'm not constrained by opening hours or lines at that teller. So this is how we write a story in this product backlog. And then there'll be, of course, this is the main, but in the story too, we put acceptance criteria. If it needs a technical details or technical design, this should be included too. So stuff like that. But mainly when we start with writing a user story, we need to identify it in this high level view, so business can understand it, and the team implementing it can understand it. Okay. Well, that's it. Let me move to the next slide. Okay, till I continue my next section, actually, I've finished the boring piece of the slides, and I'm going to jump to the demos and do the link between Microsoft 365 and the Scrum framework. But before that, please make sure that you can scan this code to provide your feedback for the all event and for my session. appreciate it. And let me move to my next section, which is the demos. I'm going to minimize this one and go right directly to Microsoft 365. So if you're a company, either big or medium size or low size or even very small size, Microsoft 365 provides you these tools that can help you implement Scrum or Agile in your projects, in your teams. So if you don't have the luxury of buying without specifying names, because there are a lot of tools that are related to the Agile and Scrum in the market, in case you're not having this capability or this luxury to do that, and you already invested in Microsoft 365, and you would like to make the most of use of it, so you can depend on Microsoft 365, so you can apply just Agile concepts, and you can start plan and organize your work, and follow even all the events that happen for Scrum, like daily Scrums, etc., and Scrum planning. So all this can be applied within Microsoft 365. Okay. So far, any questions? So Joseph, I'll be counting on you if there's anything coming to the chat. Okay. Let me continue. So the first thing, when I go to office.com, which is my gateway, I'm going to go then from the 9 dots button, I can go to SharePoint. It will open this SharePoint for me. I am going to create a new site. I pick it as a team site. I call it Scrum project. Press next. As a member, let me check. Let me add Alex. This is, of course, a test tenant. Okay, I've created my site. SharePoint, of course, if you just in case or just a reminder, refresh your mind about it. So SharePoint has a lot of very useful features where you can store your documents, where you can link it to OneDrive, so you can get it locally into your machine, where you can create notebooks, where you can create a lists, or you can have this fancy, nice looking page where you can have activities. So activity like it's going to tell you that here I started a new site, and it's going to give mention that in the activity part or the web part. And even if you started to open documents, close documents, you'll be able to track the activities happening in your site. You can start organizing your documents, and a lot of many features in SharePoint. So next step, by this, when I created the SharePoint, it created an Office 365 group, and mainly it has these two members in it, me as an administrator and Alex. Okay. So next step, I'm going to go to Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams, which we are using now for our event, having a lot of flavors, either a mobile app or either a desktop app, or you can access through the browser. I'm using it now for the browser for the sake of the demo. So this is to a test tenant. I'm going to create a team. And let me create a team. And it's going to give me two options, either from scratch or from a group. So what I'm going to use is that I'm going to use it from a group or team. And I'm going to select that it's an existing Microsoft 365 group. And it shows here, the Scrum project that I've just created through SharePoint is automatically created for me an Office 365 group, Microsoft 365 group, and I'm going to count on it. Why I'm using this technique? Because I would like to link my SharePoint site and my Microsoft 365 group, which contains my users, with the new team created. So whenever something happens on my SharePoint or my Microsoft 365 group, the Scrum project, it's going to reflect directly to Teams. So all of them are now connected together. And let me create that. Very good. Now I see it on here at the bottom. I can do a lot of stuff. I can add members. I can add channel. So let me, for the sake of demo, show you some of the existing already teams and its channels that contains data. Something like this communication one, where here you can post your chat and start communicating, and I can start replying. And if I press add, I can see the members and I can tag them and I can speak with them directly. This is one of the features whenever a team comes together and they would like to share stuff during everyday and daily work. The next thing in here is the files. With the files, you can add your project files, and then you can open in SharePoint after that, or you can press sync. If you press sync, it's going to open for you OneDrive, and it's going to sync to you in your local machine. So Teams is very good, one of the tools, powerful tools when you can interact and collaborate with your Scrum team. The second important thing in here is the wiki. I told you earlier about the Scrum that there are some events like the daily Scrums, or at the beginning of Scrum there is the planning event. So I usually try to use wikis when it comes to the daily, when I try to take some notes about my team. So for example, here I'm going to say Scrum event 1, something like that. And then I start to say planning, and I'm going to list what I'm going to do. I can do another thing actually. I can add another page. So for example, we started the planning and now we are in the implementation phase. So I'm going to say now we're 14th Jan, and here is the status, daily status for the daily Scrum, and I can start taking action. And for example, if one of the team was having an issue, I can tag Alan, for example, and I say he needs help with something, or you can reach to someone else to help you. So, and this tag, and you will get an email notification that you were mentioned in here. This is one of the tools where you can daily track your notes and put it in, and the team can see it and see what's happening with it. Okay, this is one of the tools that I use, the wikis, to track and write my notes every day on my daily Scrums. The second important tool, as I mentioned in the slides, we are having a product backlog. So there are specific tools in the market where you can have that, but what if I'm not having these tools and I don't have the money to buy it? So Microsoft 365 provides you this tool, which is called Planner. So with Planner, you can create this actually. You can have your own hub where you can start having plans. One of them, like it will look like that, event plan. If I create a new plan, it's going to give me this board. Usually with Scrum, if we are in physical locations, we get a board like that, and we start putting our sticky notes on a board of what we are going to do and what needs to be done and what's going to be happening in this sprint, what's been completed and what's in progress, what needs to be tested, etc. So with this event planner and this board look and feel, we can get that. So for example, let me add a task here. Create homepage, and I can assign it to Adele, for example, and that's it. So we are having a task here, and I can start set a due date for it, 25th. And now it's a task created in here, or actually a user story by Scrum words, and I can start moving it here. This lane or this one, whatever I need. And I can see some charts actually about what's happening, what is the status. I see in here there are 16 tasks left, 9 of them not started, 4 in progress. So far no one is late, which is good. We have 3 completed, and I can start see the chart who is working on what actually, and track the progress of the team, which is very good feature. The good point about the planner and why the Teams is a core, when I started creating a SharePoint and I linked it with Teams, you can add a tab in here. If I go back to the Teams, I can press add, and I can select planner, and I can add a tasks by planner here. When I do that, it's going to ask me, do you need to create a new plan or do you like to use an existing one? Okay, but because I'm not having this one here, it's not listing it. If I pressed on here, I hope that brings it, but anyway, it's going to take time to load because this is just a new tenant, but this is how we can link it. From plus in here, and then we start adding a tab planner, we will find it here. One of the other important pieces you can use is OneNote. If you're having OneNote on your local machine, you can have it on the cloud and you can start adding your notes, and it's going to be on the cloud and shared between your team to win here. So far, we have created a SharePoint, we have covered creation of a team, and then we spoke about the wikis, and we spoke about the planner. And yeah, as I said in here, adding a tab is very good feature, because if you'd like to add a tab, not only for planner, if you're having an Excel document, you can add an Excel document and it will be shared across the team. So for example, if you're having a leaf tracker, let me write tracker, and then you select here general. I would like to save it here. Okay. Sorry. Let me go up. I'll try to find one for you. Yeah. So because I cannot find an Excel one, but this is how we would like to have an Excel. So if I went and I created a local Excel file in this files tab, and I can do a link it for it. So I can create Excel from here and then add a tab. It's going to reflect, but you need to create one. But for this testament, I don't have Excel. I cannot find one now. So, but this is how we can do it. You can even add a Word document for processes or something, or for team stand-ups notes you would like to take for the team, and you can add it from here from the tab. So it will refer to the document in here. So this is one of the good features too that you can use with teams and help you in your stand-ups. Okay, next in the demos is the Microsoft Whiteboard. If I go here on my 9 dots and I go to the Microsoft 365, 9 dots. If I cannot find the app that I want here, I press all apps, then I start searching Whiteboard. Here I can find it. I already opened it. Whiteboard 2 is one of the good tools that Microsoft 365 provides to you. Yeah, I was trying to prepare this for you. You can take notes. You can put a sticky note in here. I can write text. Put actions. And I can start to take my notes in here. For example, this is mainly used when we are in a retrospective meeting. Retrospective meeting happens when we end a sprint. So as I mentioned in the slides, the sprint can have 2 up to 4 weeks of work. At the end of them, we start doing reviewing of what happened, and we do something called retro. We check with every member of the team what went good, what went bad, what actions they think needs to be taken so we can enhance our work during the coming sprints. So we can use a whiteboard and we can share it either from Teams or from this application as a standalone, and we can start writing, and I can share it with Teams so it will be interactive. If I share it as a link, I can create a link and I can paste it to them, and then they can start to collaborate together with me and add into the whiteboard. So whiteboard that actually has been evolved along the time, and these nice features have been added recently by Microsoft. They've been announced a few months back. So you can add shapes, you can add notes, you can add text, free text. You can start writing freehand. If you're having a pen and you're using your touch or your whatever iPad or something, you can start writing. So there's other templates too. Provide you brainstorming templates. It provides you project planning templates that you can use. You see in here in the project planning, one of them is the daily stand-up. So if I put the daily stand-up, for example, it's going to tell you the daily stand-up, the goal, the success criteria, the audience, etc. It's going to help you with identifying what you need to cover every day. Okay, so let me go back my slides. I've created a SharePoint site. We have went to the Office 365 group. We have linked that to the teams. In the teams, we have handled the Scrum framework like using wikis, planners. Yeah, forms. Forms is an important piece. Let me walk you through that. I can press on the 9 dots and I can press forms. Microsoft Forms is going to open this for me. This is like a survey. So like SurveyMonkey and other tools in the market, I can create a survey. And why this is needed? Okay. As I referred, let me go and show you that back again. In my slides here, the product backlog, where we have a user story stored. Each user story, when we are in the sprint planning, so say for example, this user story. As a bank customer, I want to withdraw money. And we started to write this in a product backlog and pull it and put it in the sprint backlog that's going to be implemented starting from tomorrow. And we assign this user story to one of the member of the teams. the whole team has the luxury to start right and saying we have this user story is going to take me this amount of in Scrum. It's not time initially, but we have something like called story points, and story points start from having a lot of examples of them Fibonacci series or other ways, or you can set some sort of t-shirt size, like is it a small user story, medium, or large? So for example, I can say ATM user story points, and then I can allow them here. Can change the type. I can add another question. I can make it a choice, and I can start say, is it small, medium, or large? And I can ask them, hey, yeah, question. So let me change that. Sprint one. And here this question is going to be ATM user story points per scale. And I can share this survey with them, and I can add all the user stories so they can vote. So someone will say, hey, this user story is large. It's very complex for me, and it's going to take a lot of time. Usually what happens in Scrum, we start by this type of estimation, small, medium, large, which is they call it score points or t-shirt sizes. And then, for example, the developer, when he says that this one is large, and it took for him, for example, around 4 days. Next sprint, when someone says this a user story is large, we would know. Mostly, as an average, this is going maybe to 4 days. When the team starts to mature more and they are getting their hands more dirty with this product and the technology, maybe they are able to burn user stories in less time. So maybe the one next time they will say this user story is medium because they already did something similar. So this is how we do the estimation game during the Scrum planning. So we can depend on Microsoft Forms. There are other tools in the market too, but if you don't have the luxury to buy it, you can use Microsoft Forms. This one is very good tool to use. Okay, that mentions that we have covered to the Microsoft Forms. We already talked about the planner. Let me show you something called the Teams shift. Okay, if I go back to Teams and I press on the 3 dots here, and I find something, you'll find a lot of apps here. One of them is shifts. Okay, these are my teams. I'm going to create one here. Skip. Okay, so for example, you are having a lot of team members. I can add people here. And these people are working on different shifts. So they are located all over the world, and due to the pandemic, people are working in different shifts, different zones. So you can have shifts sheeter here. This tool, Shift app, allows you to do this planning, who is working on which shift and when. And when they come, they can clock in and sign in. I came in, then they can clock out when they are done with their work. So you can track how the people are when people are working and really they are on their shifts on time or no. So with shifts, it allows you to track a worldwide team, not only working in Scrum manner, but on any operations or support model. The shift sheet or shift app can help you with achieving this goal. Okay, coming to the last piece of my demo, I would like to go back to the SharePoint site that we have created. Let me go back here. One of the nice features, actually, say for example, you are in a running project, and you're working with Scrum, and you're having several members of the team. So the team you are having here the dev, and then you are having the devs deliver that to test, and the test delivers that to the operations or ops. So how you manage when an issue comes in from the testing, or whenever you would like to push something of code to the ops to deploy it in one of the environments, how you handle that? So the SharePoint provided a concept called lists. With lists, you can either create a blank list and put your own logic, or you can get it from a template. One of the good templates that I count on is an issue tracker. With the issue tracker, you can create this list where you can simulate that you are having something like ServiceNow or Service Desk. So you can log into issues and assign it to the team member. So for example, if I use this template, issue tracker, and I create, when testers start to testing the user stories done by the developers in this sprint, they can start creating issues. So they discovered an issue. Its issue name is XYZ, and they put a description. They put a priority for it. Is it high? Is it causing failure for the whole application or no? Its status, and they assign to the developer that worked on this feature or this user story. They can attach an image, other attachments. They can save it, and by this way, you will be able to track it, and the dev and test will be able to do the linkage between their work, who is working on dev and who is testing this specific user story, where you can track the issues. And then you can generate some reports. You can export it to Excel sheet, and you can get the graphs of how the number of issues, so stuff like that. Or, let me go back here to the home page, and I can press again on the new button. I can create a list. I can start creating a blank list. Like I will say it deployment list, and then I can create it. Here I can customize it. I can start putting the title. So for example, I would like to create a deployment task to production, so production deployment, and then I can attach the procedures. I can save. I can add here some fields. If I go back, I can add column in here. So for example, person, I'm going to assign it to a person, ops, who is going to work on it. So let me create one, prod deployment. Yeah, it's not it. Save. If I press go back in here, ops, I can enter a name. So let me check if I'm having, yeah, I can assign it to Alex. And it's assigned to Alex. So I can even, with this one, I can track who is working on which deployment and which environment I would like to deploy it to. I can even automate this one with rules and Microsoft flows. This can be another topic, where you can have some workflows running. Whenever a new item is created, you can send an email notification to your team member. You can put CC that the team lead or whatever, and by this way, you'll be able to track the deployment. So using the Microsoft lists, it's one of the features too provided by Microsoft, where you can track and help you in achieve the interaction between your different teams. So like as in here in this croquis diagram that I've done, you can interact between dev to test and ops, and you can take the whole process and the deployment from the start to the end, yeah, using Microsoft product like SharePoint list. So by this way, this one was my last demo. I have presented to you today the Microsoft Teams, the SharePoint, forms, planners, shifts, whiteboard, and I have give you a brief introduction about Agile framework, Scrum, what is it, how to the sample of user story, how you can use Microsoft 365 tools to achieve the maximum value out of this Scrum framework. So coming to my end almost of my session, approaching. So please feel free, if you're having any questions, please feel free to write it down.